So I welcome you to a conversation that is not the typical conversation, which is what it is to live with the fear of our children's death. Not a topic you hear people talk about very often, but something that I, as a trauma healer, come in contact with just about every mother. I'm not saying this is exclusive to mothers, but with every parent or every mother I encounter, usually deep down, buried in the body, is a death fear of the projection of the fear of their children's death. And I think it's a really important topic for us to surface with each other and as a community so that we can bring awareness to this fear that is very common and very often held in the bodies subconsciously, because it's not really something that people bring up or talk about very often. So before going into this topic, I want to bring you into a quick centering so that you can hear this not from your fight or flight response and your mental body, because this topic is crazy making. It's enough to drive you a little mad. I want you to listen to this teaching and to this centering from a place of an embodied experience, from your heart and from deep within your cells. So this month we are looking at the physical body, and it's appropriate that I guess we look at our mortality as we really go into this discussion of our physical body, because inherent in the discussion of disease is the fear of death, and then the projection of that fear and death on the people that we love more than anything else in the world. So if you will, join me in breathing into your upper belly. Nice deep breath into your upper belly and back. And exhale nice and slowly. Sometimes it's helpful to touch your chest and your belly as you breathe into that space within you. Nice slow exhale through your mouth. Feeling your body relax as you breathe deeply, breathing into your back body. And exhaling nice and slowly. As we breathe into the upper belly, we're just engaging, massaging the vagus nerve so that we can tell our brains that everything is safe. We're good. Especially as we move into the topic that's pretty heavy and hard for the mind to get its head around. So as you breathe into your body, if you will, start to call in the violet consuming flame, violet light, violet fire. Breathe it into your heart and exhale it into your cells. Nice deep breath, breathing the violet flame in, sending it into your mental body, your mind, your beliefs around your body, around physicality, around your mortality. Good. Send the violet flame into your energy field, into your meridians, into the field around you. Breathing the violet flame into your emotional body, burning up the seeds of fear that live within you. Violet flame brings the transmutative energies of divine love, divine wisdom, and divine power. So as you bring this violet flame deep into your body, allow it to ground and anchor into your field. Take a deep breath and send it down through your tailbone, legs, and feet, connecting you to this earth. Feeling yourself grounded on this earth plane, held by Mother Earth, Mother Gaia. Allow yourself to feel safe in this physical body, in this time and space, wherever you are in this earth, on this earth. Breathe these earth frequencies into your body, into your heart. And then exhale through the top of your head, connecting you up to divine source, your I am presence. Feeling yourself vertically connected above, below, and in your heart. One vertical line. And as you connect to the divine, just open to the frequencies of the divine, the consciousness of the divine mind, that eighth dimension of your consciousness. Pulling your senses inward and upward to the upper dimensions, to the heavens, to your higher self. And in this soul connection, allow yourself to feel the everlasting, eternal soul. No matter what your spiritual beliefs, if you believe that your soul goes back to divine, if you believe your soul reincarnates in different physical incarnations, just allow yourself to sense into your higher self and your Christ presence, your divine presence in human form. Feel into the eternal nature, the everlasting part of yourself that gathers wisdom from lifetime to lifetime, if you believe that. And if you will, as you're in this soul place, feel yourself connecting with your soul family, the people that you continue to incarnate with, that teach you your lessons and give you your contrast and give you the joyous and the hard moments in these lifetimes, the people you continue to re-encounter. Connect, if you will, if you have children or children within your extended family, connect to your children's souls, each one of them one by one, and feel yourself knowing that you've had so many beautiful lifetimes together, teaching each other, taking turns as the parent and the child. Just feel the joyous connection of that continued lesson that you have with your earth family that you continue to learn from and play with in this playground on this earth. Just bowing to each of them. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I love you. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. Thank you. Just feeling that connection and all the shared experience and all that shared karma. It doesn't have to be bad karma. It's just shared experience. And if you will, if you do have children, just bow to each one and the lessons that each of those children is bringing you. Patience, learning how to stay in love, resilience, joy, lightness. And with each of those children, just think of all of the different stages, the joyous, the difficult stages, bowing to each and every one of those experiences. Knowing that each one of those experiences is shared in is stored in the adamantine particles of your sacred heart space. Every bit of love that is ever shared on this planet is part of the sacred heart and the soul, and you take it with you to every lifetime from that point forward. Even when the physical form is gone, we hold those joyous, loving, hard, love-filled relationships. And just see if you can tap into your heart and all of the Akashic record between you and your children, all the shared experience. And maybe your spouse right now was a child in a past life, so you can try that out. And if you will, just give yourself that experience of so much beyond this current life with those sacred beings. And if you will, send the violet flame into the past with those children and into the future. Anchor it into your present moment, honoring this present moment, this set of lessons, this love. All we ever have is this present moment. Everything else is a story we've made up, a memory of the past or the future. So see if you can connect in this moment to these beings. And then seal that, if you will, by saying, and so it is done. And so we are, and so I am. And as you close that, let's just do a prayer, a violet flame prayer for our children. I am my I am presence. So go ahead and repeat that. I am my I am presence. Invoking the violet consuming flame to transmute the cause, core, effect, record, and memory of every thought, feeling, word, and action. And now say your kids' names that Ava, Lillian, and Juliet have ever expressed in any time frame or dimension, both known and unknown, that created any karma or miscreation or disharmony. And I replace this with their body and their mind and their heart's perfect divine blueprint. I replace this with divine perfection for each and every one of them. Sealing that by saying, and so it is done. And if you'll stay in this place of your eternal nature and the eternal nature of your children, this is the consciousness that I want you to hold as I bring you this teaching, if you want to call it that. As many of you know, I was blessed with a third child who was born with a genetic metabolic disorder that before we left the hospital, she got a prick at the bottom of her heel, the PKU test, which tests for 40 different metabolic disorders. And we got a call a week later saying, bring that child to the hospital on Monday, feed her every 2 hours or she could die. And so I would say that that probably was the start of my spiritual awakening and the profound spiritual practice that became my life's work. She's 14 years old now. Because to live with the daily recognition that at any moment my child can forget to eat and she could die is probably one of the most grounding recognitions. And it forced me to have to work with the scariest fear that any mother has, which is the danger of her children. And so my husband and I made a great team, and we set alarms in our house for every 2 hours for the first year of her life. And we woke up and fed her and did everything that we could. And there was a point where we had to surrender to the divine assistance that was there without spiritually bypassing and staying really grounded in the physical realm and the reality of what action needed to be done to keep her alive. So spiritual assistance, practical action, which in the spiritual realm, usually there's one of the, usually there's one or the other. There's the love and light, hey, keep her alive. Or there's the, I'm so connected to me holding her whole entire life in my hand and the pressure of that. So it was both. It was really working with her spiritual team, knowing that she was brought to this earth for her own spiritual journey. Our children are brought to us so that we can usher them on their journey, and the very real responsibility that her life was literally hour by hour in our hands. And so what that did for us is it forced me to learn how to stay so incredibly anchored in the present moment so I didn't dip into the fear of the future, of tomorrow, of the next feeding, of what is going to happen when she's in college and she drinks and vomits. Because this child, she can't go without food in her system because she can't break down her stored fat for energy. So if she runs out of active food in her system, if her Krebs cycle shuts off, she dies. She goes into a coma and could be at risk for death. So to have the situation that grounded me into practical reality and spiritual trust in every moment of my day was very important. The other piece of work I had to do is to take myself down the rabbit hole of the death fear of my daughter dying. Because most of us have that fear, and then we're like doing everything we can to resist that fear, which keeps us in the dynamic of resistance, which keeps the fear of death anchored in our fields. Does that make sense? I can explain that a different way. So if I'm in resistance to the fear of her death, then the fear of her death is always hanging out in my fear field, and I'm always anchoring myself in some way to that fear. So what I learned to do is to go down that rabbit hole very constructively and to feel in my body that fear and to go into it. And those who've done my program know that we have a very specific process that we do through our soul retrieval process to get you into your body in this way. And we teach people how to do this on themselves so that we can go into those spaces and know that even if that most horrible thing happens, that I'm going to be okay. And she's going to be okay. And everything's going to be okay. That's not something that your prefrontal cortex, your mental body, or your fourth dimension consciousness can get you to. It doesn't happen through the mental body. It has to happen through your body experience. We have to be willing to allow our body to sit in fear in order to move through fear. Not think about fear. It's the thinking about the fear and the mental body that causes those vrittis, those fears in our mind. So it's really not about thinking about the fear, because thinking about the fear creates more of the anxiety and the feeling of the death fear, and that just amplifies it. And then we can get ourselves into a place where we're afraid to feel the fear, which is a panic or a panic attack. Panic attack is, I have fear, I'm afraid of the sensation of fear, so I get afraid of the feeling of the fear, and I get myself so far amped up in the fear that I can't function. Does that make sense? So instead of letting the mental body get a hold of it, in our work, and this is in my latest book on page 194, in our work, we say, all right, let's go to the center of the feeling of the death fear. And let's go into it until we're not avoiding it anymore, but we're straight at the center of that fear. So if you have autoimmune, or if you have pain in your body, or if you have a physical condition, or your children do, and you're projecting into that, what we need to do is get into the center of that fear so that we can move through it and get the freedom on the other side of the fear. The problem is most people are like, there's a fear, and they bounce in and bounce out and bounce in and bounce out and bounce in and bounce out. It's kind of like having a monster under your bed. Like you think you have a monster under the bed. The more you think about the monster, the more you're afraid of the monster. But if you actually turn the light on and look under your bed, you realize there's no monster under your bed. The same is actually true when we go into a death fear. But for us, we don't think there is anything on the other side of our death or the death of our child. But what I assure you is that when we go into the deepest, darkest fear that we have, and we have someone holding the space with us when we go in, and that's very important. Because to do this uncharted work by ourselves is very scary. And it's very compassionate to have someone holding the space and linking arms with you and saying, it's okay, I'm here, we're going. I'm holding the flashlight. Let's go into the darker part of the cave. Let's go into the darker part of the cave. And so that's why when people are like, how do I get through this by myself? I'm like, well, you might need some help because we need each other, right? But soon we get to go into the dark part of our caves ourselves because we've been through the cave. We know the cave. We even know where the big boulders within the cave are, and then we can finally do that for ourselves. So in this experience of having a child who every morning, I don't know if she's going to wake up. She could have had a virus hit her in the middle of the night, and her metabolic system might have been such that she may not have woken up. And that's a very real reality for a kid with MCAD or fatty acid oxidation disorder. So how do I live with that fear? I've really worked the fear so much that the fear will only show up in an acute situation, like last night. Stomach bug goes through our house. She's dry heaving. There's no calories left. It's been 6 hours. Okay, we're in the danger zone. But not fear, not panic, more vigilance of like, okay, we're in danger zone. Not going into the emotional or the mental body, staying so deeply in the present moment of what do we need to do to make sure she stays safe. So we scoop sugar in the side of her mouth because you can absorb some sugar in the side of your mouth without it going through the digestive system. We try that for a couple of hours, not working. Get her to the ER. Now she's being poked and prodded and blood drawn. She has a seizure during the blood draw. So through this, spinning out in fear? No, why? Because I've rewired my brain and my body to know that no matter what happens, I'm okay, she's okay, we're okay, even in the place of death. Now, 3 weeks ago, very ironically, I was at a training because I've been doing a lot of spiritual study on perfecting the health and getting the body healthy again. And to the spiritual teacher who was there, I asked a question. I said, oh my gosh, oh, this is what happened. I'm very bad at telling stories. I'm very nonlinear. So after this conference, I went home to this daughter with a metabolic disorder. I'm like, hey, we can program your body to delete this metabolic disorder. Let's start doing that. And she looked at me and she said, I'm going to manage my metabolic disorder the very best I can. And if doing that the very best I can, if I die, I'm okay with that. And I was like, okay. Now, this is a child who has not had the fear of death put on her because I worked it like a dog on the bone. So she doesn't have a fear. She's not suicidal or anything. But she has been raised with the belief that death is a natural part of this human experience. So I go back to the spiritual teacher and I tell her that. And she's like, well, there you go. There it is. the non-resistance to the fear of death. Is that good? Is that bad? Is that the goal? Are we supposed to not? I don't know. I'm not advising anyone. I'm just saying, because we are a family that has to deal with that reality. And if you are a family that has a child with a drug addiction or an alcohol addiction or any type of addiction where you have to live with the fear of the potential of dangerous things, this is, in my opinion, very important work. And it's not spiritually bypassing work of love and lighting and just trusting they're going to be okay, because there's a very, very strong reality that when a child or an adult child is in a situation like this, that there is danger. So my work is to do the very best I can and to stay so anchored to the present moment, such that I don't allow myself to dip into those spaces via my mental body. And when the fear shows up, I process it through my body and bring such depth and awareness into it. And with that depth of awareness and willingness to feel the thing that I'm scared of feeling, I'm able to move through the death fear on the other side of it so that I can live with it on the shelf right here at any moment. It's right here. It's not like a faraway concept. It's right here. And so it's something that becomes a part of my daily inner work. This is not a one and done thing. I check in with it. Oh, it's a little bit closer today. I'm going to feel that and be with that and experience that. And know that on the other side of that, I'm okay. That's not something that your mind will be able to bring to yourselves. No matter how many affirmations you do, no matter how well your mental body is wired, it's an embodied vibrational experience of having the tolerance to feel the fear. Now, I know the topic of today was supposed to be autoimmune and chronic pain, so let me touch on that for those of you who thought that was going to be the topic, because it's not far away from this. I've had autoimmune issues, Lyme disease, Bartonella, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, Yersinia. I have all kinds of infection, and I will do a whole class on this. And so the work I've had to do on that has been profoundly similar, which is, what am I afraid of? Oh, I have chronic hives. Okay. Oh, my body's in inflammation. I've got some neuropathy today. Oh, okay. Let me bring my present awareness to this sensation and feel what the fear is underneath it. Because if I don't address the fear, I will have further inflammation, and then I will have further hives and whatever is showing up in my body physically. So if I don't really get beyond the fear of the inflammation or the chronic whatever I've got going on, and really be with, what am I so scared of? Okay, I have tingling in my nerves. Let me stay with that sensation. I'm still alive. I'm still breathing. What that does is it allows the trauma brain and the prefrontal cortex to start to work together. Okay, I'm scared. And in this moment, I'm still breathing. I'm not in anaphylactic shock. I don't have any organs shutting down. I'm okay. In this moment, everybody with autoimmune, look at me. In this moment, I'm safe. My body's having a reaction. I'm having some symptoms, but in this moment, I'm okay. In this moment, I might have an expectation and an entitlement to live in a human body that doesn't have any symptoms. I might have an entitlement to have a child that doesn't have a life-threatening metabolic disorder, but guess what? That's not how karma and physical realm bodies work. We have family lineage DNA that's passed down. Now, I don't actually believe that we have to live with that. I do believe we can activate our perfect healing, but that's a story for another day. Because while I'm activating the perfect healing in my DNA and cells, I'm also working with what symptoms my body is showing up, what symptoms my daughter's body is showing up. Both of those can exist. We can hold the vision for perfect healing, health, safety, well-being, and we can bring awareness, not fear, awareness to the symptoms that are showing up and bring that into loving awareness and feel the death fear underneath that. Does that make sense? Because in this moment, if you have autoimmune and you're all looking at me, turn your videos on. If you have that, or if you have a child that's in danger, you are right here. You're looking at me in the eyes. We are right here. Yeah, the body might be barking at us and creating a little loud noise and flaring up and throwing a temper tantrum, no doubt. And here we are. Breathing, our eyes are working, our body is making pee and excreting things, and our liver's filtering things, and our autonomic nervous system is beating our heart and breathing our air. We're okay in this moment. And there's all the fears that we have to feel to the bottom of so that we can be in that space too, because that's very real and it's very loud and it's very much in our bodies. I had the experience of doing very deep cellular-based, body-based work with people at a retreat this weekend. And by Sunday, half of them were all vomiting and not funny. However, the body will clear. The body is wise. The body will fight things off. The body will do what it needs to do to clear out what it needs to clear out. So in this experience of learning about my body and learning how to trust my body and learning how to trust my daughter's body, to learn that is to hold that when the body is doing what it needs to do to detoxify and to clear itself out. Like we make vomiting and diarrhea a bad thing. What if that's the body clearing out when it needs to clear out? Someone just said, sounds like ayahuasca, right? Ayahuasca ceremony, there's all this stuff happening. People are vomiting and diarrheaing the whole time. Sounds great, right? What if our bodies are so incredibly wise? What if our cells love us? What if our body is doing an amazing job and the noise that we're hearing through our autoimmune systems are just signals? Don't eat the dairy. Signals. Might want to cut out sugar. Signals. And we may choose to listen to the signals, or we may choose to stay in ignorance and look at the white coat people and tell us exactly what medicines to take. And that's okay too. But our body is signaling us. Our emotional guidance system signaling us. We are getting signals. And so often we want to be like, la, 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 don't want signals. Bad. Body's bad. Giving me signals. Bad, bad body. It sounds silly when I say it like that, but that's really what's happening. Our body's giving us signals. What's going on, body? Oh, you didn't like? I started getting a big perioral rash on my face. I knew. Oh, dairy snuck into my diet after 10 years. Get some tests done. Got the confirmation from my awakened doctor. Yeah. Did you get dairy back in? Yeah, you can't eat dairy. Okay. Rash goes away. So what if the body is just speaking to us in a language that we don't yet understand? It's like a foreign language. And we're just like, I can't hear you, shut up. Instead, what if we were following the breadcrumbs and praying and saying, show me the herb, show me what I need to do. Give me the fortitude to follow what my body is asking from me. Let me listen more without the expectation of fixing my body, without the expectation that this is going to fix my thing. I've had chronic hives and autoimmune since I was like 18 years old. And I might have it to the rest of my life. It does not limit my quality of life or my vitality or my brain strength or any of it. Just as my high-risk daughter does not limit my quality of life or my emotional joy or my experience of her. In fact, all I need to do is stay in this present moment and celebrate this moment and this moment and this moment and this moment. And same thing with my body. I'm celebrating that I didn't sleep last night and my body showed up today and had something somewhat coherent to say. Wow, body, great job. Thank you, body. I love you, body. Holy shit, body, you're fucking amazing. Instead of hyper-focusing on the 10 to 20% of my body symptoms that is not so amazing, or the 10 to 20% of a kid's mental health issues that make you scared. What if you celebrated 80% of that kid rather than the 20% that has an addiction or has a physical disorder? What if we affirmed what was working? What are we going to get more of? At least from our bodies, what are we going to get more of? We're going to get more of the body working. Law of attraction works with the physical body. If we affirm, thank you for digesting my food so well. Thank you for that amazing poop. I celebrate my poop every morning. I went 10 years without pooping. Not literally. I affirm every bowel movement I have. Thank you, body. That was amazing. Loved that bowel movement today. Good job. I know this sounds ridiculous, but what if we affirmed all of the things that we took for granted every day that we have with our children, every bowel movement we have that worked? That's what I challenge you to do. So this was a bit of a mishmash. I hope you got something out of it, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful to have 40 people to show up to on a morning that I didn't sleep, to help share my rawness and my experiences with you. And I'm grateful for it. And I love you so, so, so much. I wish you many blessings.